please don't get offended, my great panelists and also the audience, that I, as the organizer of this event, I will be more taking the role of the host than the panelists. And I want to say that the last panel, what we were missing, it was the summary. Even the moderator was in a hurry, and she was saying that it was not possible for us to discuss. So I would like to say that in this panel, I assume that we will have some interaction and Q&A session, as this is the last panel of this first conference day. So if some questions or comments come to your mind on the previous panels, as Spanish say, do not hesitate. You will have an opportunity to ask your questions more towards the end. And I really have to say one more thing. The last panel was very much linked with dreams, and it was good to dream. And some of my dreams I have had for some years were fulfilled by that panel, as at least some of the regions are on our side, on the cluster side, understand what clusters are. They want to work with us. And so my telephone almost got burned when I was taking notes on that, as you were saying that you want to work with clusters, that they are tools. Of course, there were some voices. Probably we should not exaggerate that not all the things can be done by clusters. Of course, if you finance this, we can do a lot, or we can do everything. But my dreams partially were fulfilled, as we had 6 representatives of regions discussing about clusters. But I have another dream, and I hope that once the panel, we will have a panel where we will have 16 representatives of regions, and probably we will have to split this panel into 3 rounds, 3 panels to be able to discuss. But the problem is, despite some regions, leading regions, and I'm not going to exaggerate, like Pomorskie, Śląskie, Lower Silesian, Mazovia, and Małopolskie is not represented here, Podkarpackie, Lubuskie also, or Podlaskie, not represented here, but they have also been always supporting us. But there are plenty of regions which constantly, this lamp of cluster education needs to be lighted up there, and we will not stop. We will be traveling from one city to another with our congresses. Next congress will be in the X or Y city. I am not going to mention the names. Sebastian is looking at me and is killing me with his eyes, and I was born in Podlaskie province. Yeah. Anyway, so that was the comment, my comment on the last panel, and I want to say thank you to all the panelists in the last 3 panels. And I'm not boosting myself, I'm not boosting this Congress, but I'm boosting the panelists, as the bar is very high in the last panel. But we have selected the best panelist in the country, in this country. One panelist got sick, and he did not stand the pressure. So, ladies and gentlemen, so who are we having with us? Monika Antonowicz on my left-hand side. Monika representing the Polish Agency for Enterprise Development and experts at the agency. And next, further on the left, Maciej Malik, President of Future Industry Platform Foundation. And Natalia Matyba, Director, Strategy and Analysis Department, Polish Investment and Trade Agency. And last but not least, Paula Tęcza, Specialist in Investor Acquisition and Cooperation, Pomeranian Special Economic Zone. Ladies and gentlemen, so we have the subject of this panel, and as it was, the last panel was focused more on how regional development policy is carried out by local governments. And in this panel, we will be discussing about the role of the regional and national business support agencies and institutions in the same area. And so we know that we have a central administration authorities taking care of the development of our countries. We have also the regions. We have the regional administration, and we also have those institutions you are representing, and also the clusters. And all of us, this is what it should look like, together, hand in hand, in some kind of coordination and with division of roles. We should cooperate, as by the end of the day, we all have the same customer, I mean, the business. And so I think the discussion is going to be started, where I will expect you as representatives of these agencies will claim what your great errors have been, and I hope that you will also promise to improve, and then I hope you will show or tell us a clear future of your activities, which will bring numerous reasons for satisfaction to our business and numerous reasons for their developments. And we will also have two rounds, one about what you do, what you are experts in, what you would like to do, and in the second round, I will ask you questions on what is the role of clusters, and is there a kind of interaction between us. Of course, I would like to give you a hint on what you should answer, what your answer should be, that your answers should be yes, as there is a cooperation. I decided to be very democratic in this decision. So let's start with Monika Antonowicz. As all of us know, the Polish Agency of Enterprise Development is our great friend, supporter, and as we are all environments of poor people, and of course it is very important for us to have good friends. And now, to be serious, Polish Agency of Enterprise Development has been supporting us a lot, as this is your role, and of course I can understand that you have some pleasure in doing this. But I'd like to ask not exactly what you have done, as this is clear to us, but I'd like to know what your ideas are on supporting of businesses, as we are not only talking about clusters, I mean the new financial perspective. What is the thing you particularly note, Monika? Thank you very much for the invitation, for giving me this opportunity to speak with all of you. I'd like to make a reference to this question. As you mentioned, we have been supporting clusters for years, but let me start by saying what we do directly for clusters, or what we do indirectly for clusters. And then I will be speaking about what businesses can precisely get from us. As you know, our website, as we have also schedules of calls. So this is about what we are planning to do. And for clusters currently, we are about to finish or close the assessment and move on to contracting of developing of services for the key clusters and more than regional clusters. And next year's in June, as I remember, want to start another call, and the clusters can benefit, and also the businesses working in clusters will be able to benefit. And clusters are also active. So let me we have plenty of national key clusters. So is that known when the results of the call are going to be declared or announced? The results will be announced right after the assessment. As all of you who make applications, your applications have been reviewed, and if some information is missing, we are requesting this information, and representatives of the agencies inquired you, asked some questions, and by the end of the year, we hope to finish the contracting process. So we are not about, I'm not going to say that we are finishing the assessment, but I hope that by the end of the year, we will finish the contracting part, and we will provide financial support. And I think this is a short perspective and beneficial for you. So even this year, you will know what the current status, current situation in the context of these projects looks like. And but before I add information on 2.17, I want to say that the clusters are active member of business environments, and this year we also want to provide support to all to those requesters who made their submissions, and so this is another tranche of money which can be offered to clusters, and as they are members of those consortia, and also as Madam Vancho said, we have this innovation hubs, and in March next year, probably much will depend on the certification processes. So we will have probably financial offerings for those hubs. I hope this will be in March, but please do not stick to this date. And also these activities which are important to support clusters. This is a laboratory of an innovator. This is a competition for operators, so institutions which can induce innovativeness of the society for innovators, individuals who think about establishing of a startup, who want to also be enterprises. So for those of you who want to use your innovative ideas, and we also are going to have support for those innovators, and I think clusters can be a good place to carry out this kind of activity. Also, I have on my list that in April next year, we will have a call for Startup Boost Poland. So that's again for operators supporting startups to help them further develop. So we'll provide advisory counseling services. They will be developing, managing startups. So cluster coordinators and experienced organizations supporting development of startups can benefit in this competition. So that's another option which I think needs to be mentioned here. And what also is very efficient in clusters, so these are sectoral councils on competences, and next year we will also select operators of the sectoral councils, and it is a good idea for clusters to be involved, and because clusters are some kind of mobilizers of councils, and you have been involved in the operations of those councils, so you can support clusters to develop and develop some industry. So this is a very important activity, and there will be selected an operator who will be coordinating those sectoral councils, and probably there are some clusters who feel that they could be an operator, could become an operator. And also, as I said before about the startups, this is a part of the FRANK program. So this is European Funds for Modern Economy, and the sectoral councils on competences are part of social development. And an interesting idea on European Funds for Eastern Poland, as many members of clusters run their business in Eastern Poland. So we are going to have also starting platforms for new members. So clusters can also can get involved if you want to support new startups, and if they want to help transfer startups into businesses. So I think it is important information to give you an outline that 2.17, this activity is not the only thing clusters can do. There are many different areas, and for businesses who indirectly benefit on development of clusters. And as for businesses, clusters often play a role of advisors in filling in some applications or informing about available funds. So as you know, the SMART pathway, and the second call is about to finish on the 15th of November. We will continue this activity, and subsidies are going to be available. And another interesting activity is Eurogrants, and in February next year, this is going to be started. And this is an activity which we also had in the last perspective, and it helps to get involved in programs, in framework programs of European Union. It helps in developing R&D projects. And so we will also have the changed activity called promotion of more innovative SMEs. And in the last perspective, we did it. It's not going to be the case in the new one. It is more targeted on companies who have some experience in export, and we will be trying to promote more companies successful in exporting. We'll try to develop them even further. So that's going to be an attempt to strengthen the brand of Poland by those exporters. And also, as for Eastern Poland, in Eastern Poland, we also have a competition which has already been started. So this is a circular economy in SMEs, and clusters can also be service providers. This is an activity where SMEs can get counseling on developing a business model based on circular economy. So many of our clusters, not only the key clusters, have some experiences here, have some successes here, and on the one hand, supporting their members in Eastern Poland for them to be able to get the money. Clusters can also or there is a potential to use clusters as service providers in these projects. In Eastern Poland, so today we are finishing the call for automation and robotization for SMEs. This is another competition for SMEs who want to go towards that direction. And in May next year, we will start a project on designing. So we will be subsidizing designing processes. I think this is going to be also eco-design is going to be involved. It should be. And also there is another activity. It is not a direct financing, but also the educational part of our activity. It is we also have a tool where businesses can use counseling trainings, experience of our experts in different areas, so companies can also get knowledge using our experiences as the Polish Agency of Enterprise Development. So this is a tip of the iceberg of all the activities the Polish Agency for Enterprise development takes. So if you have any questions, I'm going to be here tomorrow, so you can address the questions also tomorrow. As the Polish agency for us has always been invaluable source of different projects and programs, supporting programs and projects, but also a very rough outline, as you have done, requires quite a long time. But now let's move on to the Industry of Future platform. We have the president of the platform. The platform is represented here. Your platform is one of the youngest. You have been with us only for a couple of years.
Specifically since 2019, so we'll be celebrating the 5th anniversary this year. We're very young, but that doesn't pose to be a problem. We're trying to use our youth to approach our activities with even greater enthusiasm. I'll be able to tell you about them. Okay, so what does the platform offer to entrepreneurs? I don't want you to discuss history, even if it is as brief as it is, but let's talk about today and the future. We're talking really in the context of twin transformation, so digitization and green transition. I know that you also have your offering here. Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in this panel specifically, but also for this question and the way you formulate that question, which will allow me to straight away start with describing, first of all, what we do, but also a broader viewpoint on our vision for collaboration and development. Mr. President said in the beginning that when we look at different agencies that collaborate, we are a young one, a new one. For instance, compared to the other agency that my predecessor represents, we are smaller, but we are able of providing very specific support in terms of knowledge, in terms of consulting, and offering to entrepreneurs. Our statutory goal is to support the industrial sector in the implementation of advanced technologies and digitization in such a way that Polish businesses become increasingly competitive. As I say, we are a young organization. We're not really young considering what dynamic reality and how dynamic world and what dynamic subject our activity pertains to in terms of digital transformation, technology transformation. New solutions are being implemented all the time. We can't really prepare a long-term strategy once and for all and then continue implementing it for a few years period. So we make sure that we're dynamic, based on a resource of expert and specialist employees. I will briefly tell you what sort of activities they carry out in order to support Polish entrepreneurs, not by forcing them to transform and giving them a lot of money, saying, you take the money and you do something with them. But we say, diagnose what you need, diagnose what your potential is, diagnose your digital maturity, see what sort of tools are good for you, so that your company can not just implement some sort of solution, but also to have benefits in a few years' time. So that's why we are here, to provide consultants in these areas. And the European Green Deal came into it as an initiative, also as part of digitization. These subjects are tied very closely together, because when we look at the long-term perspective of the EU in terms of Green Deal, it is supposed to be implemented through modern technology. We are not going to be able to achieve this in any other way if we are to achieve those ambitious goals for which we do not have a lot of time. And we all undertook these dates as member states, but also at operational level. If you have a business that implements modern, advanced solutions, then they want to do it in such a way that they are able to already respond to the challenges of sustainable management of resources, the protection of natural resources, these things are part and parcel of one another. You can't have one without the other. As the Future Industry Platform Foundations, what we do is we collect best practices, both domestically but also from other centers. Our employees take part in study visits in many countries abroad in order to look at best practices there and good solutions. So we promote a Belgian methodology which is very useful in digital transformation through specific activities. I'd like to give you just a handful of specific examples. I don't want to make it too long. Factory of the Future competition is one activity. In the competition, we select the best examples of enterprises. We visit them, we watch them operating, we evaluate them based on predefined methodology, and we use this competition to find best examples that we can then replicate and promote. Leaders School. This is practical training or learning from market leaders. Because if we are to think more broadly and more seriously about technological transformation, about digital transformation, we're going to have a number of additional challenges, such as doing it evenly throughout the country, so we don't only focus on large urban centers. And Future Industry Platform Foundation, when we were established, we did not choose Warsaw as our head office. We do have an office there, but we chose the city of Radom. But also, we need to work through regional councils for the future industries. We meet representatives from regional councils from various parts of Poland, allowing us to work with excellent experts and people who are deeply involved in the operations of various institutions and agencies. Once again, I want to emphasize the collaboration between agencies is because we have the same stakeholders. We want to achieve the same people, the Polish entrepreneurs. We have such councils in 16 voivodeships, and they provide us with, for these activities, with support in these activities, the Leaders School and the Factory of the Future. But if you go to our website, highly recommended, you'll see that we have a lot of publications and articles which constitute part of our e-learning platform, where we provide information. There's a lot of knowledge to be gained there. We have Technology Navigator, which is a tool that shares best practices and the philosophy of thinking that before you want to change something, you first have to evaluate the starting point, you have to diagnose your needs, and you have to look long-term. You also have to think how you're going to implement it, because industry of the future, and I'll give you a positive answer, that GPT and AI is never going to replace humans. We will need qualified staff, qualified personnel, people who will be able to implement those new solutions. This is something we always emphasize. We have a Finance Navigator tool, which helps entrepreneurs who have enough work as it is to think about additional things. We are a public agency, so we reach out to the entrepreneurs and help them to easily find opportunities that the entrepreneur can use if they deem it necessary. So that's all software, right? It's a portal. Yes, this is something available at our website. These are simple tools for now. Next year, we're planning to start up our digital platform, where we will put all these services that we provide in one place so that they can be used in a more advanced way. So to differentiate you from the PAC, which is the provider of subsidies, you are the agency which first and foremost promotes various behaviors, pro-digitization, pro-green, by providing consultancy, training, providing certain IT solutions, access to information. So that's, as I understand, the difference, because I'm looking from the point of view of our participants. Exactly. We do not provide funding, but we provide other support, because this is why we were created as a foundation. We also work together with other agencies. I'll give you one more example, because working together with the Agency for Enterprise Development, they're going to provide money, but we're going to provide expert support. So people know how to apply for the money and then how to use the money. This is why we are established. This is what we focus on. I understand that I called Monika to the floor. She will now say that you do more than give money. I wouldn't make such a strike differentiation, because large part of our activity is training and consultancy. Krzysztof, yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm supposed to provoke you. Okay, so there's a project in which you participate as Polish class. This is Connect Landscape Lab, which is a project under which is training delivered. There's another one related to circular economy. We had workshops for entrepreneurs, which provided practical information about green transition. So it's not that the park is just a provider of grants. It is actually one of the many examples. Our development services database is another example of how we support agencies and entrepreneurs. There are many other activities that we carry out which are really consulting. The reports that Dr. Beata Lubos mentioned related to staff development. So we are involved in consultancy all the time. Let's see. Could I add something? Let's stay with the floor. Yeah, the subject of digital transformation is very close to me, because my background is the Ministry of Digitization. When I still worked there, we decided that it would be good to establish, together with PAH, the digital staff or task force to promote companies that have interesting digital solutions and promote them abroad. Public administration are not allowed to do it directly, so that's why Polish Agency for Trade and Investment was established. And that's why we signed the agreement between the Ministry of Digitization and Polish and PAH, and we chose America, Africa, and Emirates. And in our foreign trade offices, we appointed digital consultants who are representing the interests of the Polish companies there. This is what I wanted to say as part of digitization. We are at a conference where digitization and green transition are the main themes. So your intervention was not only recorded, but it will be distributed further and promoted. Thank you. Monika, Natalia is my name. Why does it say Monika here? Because you just like that name, I think. Someone who prepared the material probably does. Fair enough. Natalia. I have to correct it, but I wrote to you. Okay, Natalia. We have one government agency, second government agency, now the third, Polish Investment and Trade Agency, and it is associated for most of us with promoting exports. But from what I hear, as of recently, since you are a central government agency, you started opening your regional branches in order to get closer to the stakeholder or the ultimate beneficiary, which are businesses. How many branches have you got? Are they open in every municipality in Poland? What's the situation? Well, thank you very much, by the way, for the invitation to this panel. Well, generally, the decision by the board of the Polish Investment and Trade Agency was that we need to open 10 offices attached to special economic zones. Next year, we'll have 12 of those altogether. So technology parks and special economic zones, that's where we open the offices. We recently opened a new office here in Gdansk. So, by the way, private announcements, we are hiring. If anybody wants to find employment, we are looking for people for the Polish Investment and Trade Agency office, local office in Gdańsk. This is the last additional element in the offering of the PITA. We have several areas. Export, so small and medium enterprises with Polish capitals can come to us and they receive from us a package of consultancy, how to build strategy, how to analyze, how to reach out with their idea into foreign markets. We have at the moment 57 foreign offices located practically throughout the world. We also have an investment part. So recently we assisted in bringing Intel to Poland, or Unicor factory. We have a large database in terms of possible industrial plots. If any of you has an idea about how to expand your factory, this is where we can help. I'd like to also encourage you very strongly to look at our portal trade.gov.pl. This is where we put in anything that is on offer, the complete package of our service. I'd like to emphasize that all services provided by PITA are free of charge for entrepreneurs. I also have with me my colleague, if you wanted to talk some more in the break. She's director of the department, Aneta Brzuzy, Department of European Projects. She's running two very interesting projects. We've just completed invitation for technology bridges, but there will be more. There'll be My Business Abroad. That's a new project. This is a monitoring and benchmarking project. You can also go on a foreign study tour to find out what sort of support can be given to your type of business outside of Poland. Thank you. Thank you. So let's see how it works. First, we have a very central agency. Then we have a foundation that is central but a little regional. Then there is your agency where you even have regional branches attached to special zones. Now we address the special zones. This is the riskiest moment from my point of view, because I have here, it says, your name is Paula. Okay, that was successful. So Paula Tęcza represents the Pomeranian Special Economic Zone, one of the leading zones, without a doubt, in Poland. And before I give you the floor, I will make a comment. As cluster community, we have had more and more relations with economic zones. This is something that started about 5 years ago, because economic zones, so I remember correctly, 5 years ago, started becoming involved increasingly in cluster activities to such an extent that some special economic zones started creating their own clusters, and they started playing the role of coordinators for clusters. We had today in the panel Łukasz Górecki, who is head of the automotive and advanced manufacturing cluster in Silesia, a coordinator of which is Katowice Special Economic Zone, which, by the way, has been supporting our activity for years now, the activity of the Association of Polish Clusters. We have Wałbrzych Special Economic Zone. Do not have any representatives here right now, but that is a zone that also works with the Polish Clusters Employers Association and supports the Congress as well, so they're worth mentioning for that reason. And now, the first question is, why did you become involved in cluster? Well, that's something that I'll leave for the second part of the discussion. But let's now hear, how do you assist enterprises? Your focus is strictly regional, precisely. As mentioned many times before, we're more of a regional institution. In Poland, there are 14 economic zones. We are one of those, and our reach is in the eastern side of Pomorskie region and the entire Kujawsko-Pomorskie region. So it's quite convenient in terms of location. And because of this location, we are very strongly involved in local development, especially the development of enterprises and entrepreneurs, because our offering is for the entrepreneurs. This system of investment support that we have in Poland is one of the best in the EU. It is very well designed, and there is a contribution from the Act on Support for New Investment from 2018, which reformed the special economic zone to a certain extent, because we've had them since 1994 and ours since 1997, so we are a little younger as a special zone. However, we mainly specialized in localized activity. If somebody wanted to get a tax break, CIT tax break, they had to move into a special location in Poland and carry out their activity there. As a result, mainly major companies were using this solution, major international foreign companies. The reform from 2018 changed that. Now the main beneficiary of public assistance are SMEs, and we can see it, especially in our projects, because we have more than 300 of those, 300 projects underway, and 70% of those target SME companies. Also, as the zone, we established a Council for Economic Development. I met two members of the council here today. One is still with us. So this is an advisory body for the zone. And on that council, there are representatives of each district in which we are present as a zone, and also entrepreneurs. So we are meeting regularly. There are also task teams that actively develop entrepreneurships in the regions where we are operating. Now, it's very important for us because this gives us special close contact with the mayors, with people who manage cities and municipalities, and we can talk with them about the needs of the zone and the needs of the business people and the needs of the local authorities. We are also consultants. We help develop plots for industry. So if a company needs some location to go ahead with an investment project, we utilize the Polish Investment and Trade Agency database and provide help. We work together, and we're happy now that we're going to be in the same building right now with their new branch. In order to not to make my intervention too long, I'd like to just say about one more area of activity that we emphasized recently, which is vocational counseling and industry-specific training. We have a special team for vocational training, although we should be really defining it as industry-specific training. We are in dialogue with investors, with schools, universities as well, and they work in order to find the areas that need special development, especially in view of developing staff, qualified staff. We all see that there is a shortage of qualified staff, which is a major challenge for our economy. Hence, the main idea for establishing this team is to find ways of providing this highly trained staff for all the entrepreneurs. And then in 2019, we opened the Center for Programming Industrial Robots here at the Ostrów Island in Gdansk. That was one of the first such centers, which really allows the entrepreneurs to have their employees trained. It also helps students who are at the very beginning of their professional path to show them that, yes, you can develop in this direction, robotics or 3D printing.
So, let's move on now to the second round, and let's start with you, Madam, again, as we will be going the other way around. So, we have been observing that in Wałbrzych or Legnica or Katowice, special economic zones, they are very strongly involved in cooperation with clusters. And how do you cooperate? Do you have some experiences, any experiences in this regard, or plans for the future? Let me just mention at the very beginning that in the last panel, someone said that there are national key clusters, but people are not aware of their existence. And I would like to confirm this. Unfortunately, this awareness is missing in businesses. When I have meetings with potential investors, and if we make a presentation that there is a quality criteria that the businesses need to meet something to get support from us, that there is, and that it is also required that businesses are required to be members of the national key clusters. Businesses are sometimes asking, what are clusters, in fact? So this question is too frequently asked. So we need to continue developing of awareness of clusters. We need to remind people that clusters are there, that it is good to be their members, or also we can invite economic zones to create their own clusters, as this was the case in Katowice. We are also the members of the hydrogen technology cluster. We are a member of that cluster, and together we have been also developing projects with partners from Poland, Lithuania, and Sweden, RBR, and so we want to develop a platform for cooperation and develop shared technologies, and this is something what our company also concentrates on. We want to be active in green transition, as we believe this is important from the perspective of our country, not only region, but also we want to get involved in development of robotics, like industrial robots programming centers. So this is the area where we also actively support clusters. So if businesses want to get a release from CIT, we also recommend some membership in the national key clusters, that it makes sense. It is also a pleasurable criteria, as only advantages if this criterion is declared. And so we want to try to support you in your business, in your activity, and we also want to support our businesses in further development. So there are also some practical aspects of that, as businesses investing in special economic zones, they of course calculate their money, they calculate the taxes they pay, and one of the conditions you take into account is membership, is a membership in a key cluster. This is what the Act of Law says, and we need to stick to that. Okay, then. That's very important. This is a positive advantage. Yeah, so this is a quotation from Lech Wałęsa. Positive advantage. Natalia now. Cooperation with you is very important for us. Yeah, so the question has not been asked. I confused the name, but we still have understanding, and it's going so much forward that yeah. So okay, so you can stick to calling me Monika if you feel like. But before I ask the question, I'd like to boost the Polish Investment and Trade Agency, as we have an agreement with you. We signed this agreement only this year. This is a framework agreement, and a month ago I participated in a conference that was called Polish Investment and Trade Agency Business Forum. And that was a great event, and I'd like to be here your free of charge promoter. So I'd like to recommend to all of businesses to look at this event next year and the next editions, as this is really well organized and very well prepared, and I was positively impressed. So we have this framework agreement, and how would you like to help us, and how would you like to support us? We are not going to give you any money, unfortunately. Okay, so we can go on to the next person. To be serious, there is some kind of overlap, particularly of what national key clusters and what you do. As key clusters can get support for internationalization of their activity under the 2.17 activity, but other clusters, unless they are regional growth clusters or multi-regional growth clusters, they do not have this chance. So the question is how much Polish Investment and Trade Agency can help, and have you been thinking about it, or have you been considering this? There is some kind of lack of support. As Monika Antonowicz is also going to discuss this, as in benchmarking, unfortunately, the national key clusters, unfortunately, from the perspective of other clusters, they are running away. So what can we do for other clusters to support internationalizations? They are smaller, but still there are some strong companies and they are interested in this process. Of course, we need to separate two types of activities. Firstly, you connect different types of companies and startups, and I would like to concentrate more on education here, to look at also at their export supporting or activities, and we need to educate them to help them to go out of their comfort zone and go to international markets, and also as for the technology bridges. We are now waiting for a decision. We are also going to develop the Academy of Business, and this academia is going to support the B2B contacts or mapping of contacts or institutions surrounding contacts, also to let you know who is worth of cooperating with. So I would look at this from the perspective of contacts and networking perspective. And more tangible support is available, something what would be similar to what we are used to as the national key clusters, like that we can go to some kind of missions or we can be subsidized, and those who are not the national key and the Polish Investment and Trade Agency could say, okay, so let's please group 3 or 4 companies and we can arrange a stand in some kind of trade shows, or we can subsidize you, or you. So this is about the technology bridges. In this area, we have some contracts and we are waiting for the final decision. But what it would look like if the final decision is positive? Of course, the support will be available for industrial missions and show trades and traveling and showing in different areas. If I may add on top of that, now, that was a tricky question, as we also have some experiences that Polish Investment and Trade Agency organizes some stands where not only the national key clusters can exhibit. This is a reference also to Košice in Slovakia. Yes, of course, we were there. This is not like abroad, as this is so close to Poland, but yes. You have your own supporters here. So this is what it's going to look like. So what can you subsidize? How can you subsidize businesses? And this is not my program. I have a colleague with me, and she runs the program, the project. So as soon as we finish this meeting, please contact Aneta, as she's responsible for this. So these are very important things, and absolutely. This is very important for members of clusters. Even if you are not a national key clusters, the companies, as I said at the very beginning, companies or members of clusters are a couple of dozens of percent more interested in export supporting activities than non-members of clusters. So this is why we signed this contract with you, and this is very important for our members. I cannot hear the lady, so I will not be able to interpret this. And this is what I mentioned at the very beginning of the panel when I was making a reference to your panel. So we are all a network of different types of organizations, but we are small and poor, but we are doing our best. You are big and rich, and you also do your best, but generally it is all about all of us to be able to help businesses. So as for the internationalization, so let me share my own observation. So I'm also ahead of one of the national key clusters. A very positive influence on operation, on what is happening in people's mind, is a participation in the process of internationalization. So it was once mentioned in one of the panels today. So you sometimes need to touch upon things. It is not enough to listen. You need to touch things to understand. So to all the institutions dealing or supporting internationalization, I would like to appeal to all of you. This is a voice from us, but my colleagues are also nodding. This is extremely important and totally changes perception and mentality of companies if they start traveling. They are not so much feared. They don't think that we are somewhere at the very end of Europe, and they understand that we still can sell. They understand that we are on a good level and we can compete with the world. So if we can do something for companies, we should support their export by their participation in shows are interactive forms or conferences. So if people travel abroad to listen or to watch, they usually have this very positive understanding. So I believe that education is extremely important for SMEs. And next year we are going to make a project for students. We have signed a contract for Warsaw School of Economics. And firstly, we want to also make that remove this myth that the work for administration is boring, and we also want to show that young people should be more involved in aspects dealing with promotion of brand of Poland. So young people should be also ambassadors of Polish brands abroad. And for 11 years, I resided in Brussels, and from my own experience, I know that this promoting of good news about Poland, Polish people, what we can offer to Europe and beyond, is extremely important. And this is and the main mission of the Polish Investment and Trade Agency is the promotion of Polish economy. And so this is the role of the regional offices, to encourage businesses to approach us and to use us to make things closer, to help them to have this local supporter and the list of those your branches is available on your website. Yes, we have a branch in Łódź, Opole, Białystok, Gorzów, Poznań, Katowice, Wrocław, and now we are going to have Gdańsk, Kraków, Olsztyn. Yes. And let me also comment on this, as this discussion is about internationalization and traveling. So as a zone, we are also trying to support export of our investors, but also we want to give them knowledge. The companies should not be afraid of traveling. They should not be afraid of international markets, foreign markets. And in last quarter, we organized a conference supporting export, and now we are going to have in late November we are going to have another conference in Grudziądz. We are going to have experts of Polish Investments and Trade Agency, and they will be telling people how to support export. So I would like to encourage you to get to know about this conference, and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have, as this is good idea to educate people with this kind of events where you have access to experts who can help you to enter international markets. And and also the Polish Investment and Trade Agency forum, which takes place in the National Stadium. It's 2 days, so a couple of thousands of businesses, and this is an event where we have also representatives of all our international offices, foreign offices. So if you are not certain, not sure where you would like to export, or opposite, you know exactly where your export wants to go, so you can meet our experts from those local markets. And this is a great opportunity to meet them and to talk with them about the opportunities. They will also identify those opportunities, or my experts, like Grzegorz Gałczyński, a great expert on automotive, hydrogen, power generation. So I'd like to encourage you, of course, your participation in the event is free of charge, and we will be communicating the dates for the next year. Okay, Mr. President, I can see that you want to take the floor, and you want to say what else you can give, but of course the ladies are here, so I'm very honest here. We only have 12 minutes, so but I would like to encourage you to look into our website. There is no another foundation like ours, so you will definitely not get confused. And so we have some proposals for the national key clusters, but also those growth clusters for coordinators or businesses, members of clusters. So even this year, there is a number of activities and opportunities you can use. Like I knew that the panel would be challenging, so I have a very specific notes on dates and events. And on the website, our website, if you open it, you will find there also tools to diagnose your potential on Green Deal, or on other aspects. And also we also have a cluster businesses benchmarking questionnaire or survey. That's you will find it on our website, and also you can verify your digital competences. And this is an application which will help you to diagnose your digital matrix, or how much you are advanced with implementing of the Green Deal. So as the cluster coordinators, you can verify and check your skills. And starting tomorrow, the first event will take place tomorrow in this conference. So we are starting with the free of charge workshop. And by the end of the year, we want to intensify our activities. So we want to offer workshops for members of clusters to increase efficiency of business processes, and we want to help in developing of the map of digital transition. And we're applying here ADMA methodology and also the digital twin methodology. And the first workshop will take place tomorrow in this 9th Congress of Clusters, and the more are in Białystok, 14th, 15th November, 24th, 25th November in Krakow, and in Wrocław, 28th and 29th of November. So we are at the very north of Poland, then we go to the south. And that's also very important for us to get to different parts of the country and also to make this support more easily available. And we also want to take inventory of transformation to digital processes, a couple of dozens of clusters, 86 have been approached with this idea, and we have surveyed 46, and we want to do more surveys, and also technology mapping focused on Polish, English, internet tool supporting different industries. And currently we are gathering data from about 150 businesses from 3 clusters, and we are concentrated on machining here to define the technological potential and to identify technological gaps using the technology vocabulary, technology dictionary. So these activities, we try to make them as well considered as possible, depending on your specificity of your industry and depending on the challenges your clusters are facing. We want to make these activities attractive, and we want we hope that you will be happy to use these tools. And please let me encourage you once again to visit this website. And tomorrow we will have an opportunity to speak with representatives of the foundation who have been active in running of activities for clusters. And also, please, as we have developed a lot of studies, reports, white papers available on our website, and they are addressed directly for clusters. Let me just remind you, Mr. President, that last year we conducted for you as clusters, we conducted some trainings and study of future competences. And let me just remind you that as clusters, Polish clusters, I'm not talking about the association, as the association was a formal executor of this, but subcontractors were individual clusters, and they gathered their representatives, and they did some researches about expected competences of the future, so that helped us to create an image of the Polish economy. And this is one of the ways how you can use us to implement your mission.
Of course, we will be very happy to, Mr. President. Let's go on to Monika Antonowicz. I'd like you to put a kind of final thoughts on the subject of clusters and your experiences. I said many times today already, the park studies clusters once every 2 years. This is called a benchmarking study. And what is the result of this? And what is the strength? And what are some of the things that need to be improved so that we together function as the cluster community in this whole innovation environment? Thank you for letting me tell you all about this survey, about this research. This is one of my main activities in our cooperation with clusters. It's a measure we've been effecting since 2010. So every 2 years since 2010, we've been looking at the situation, the condition of clusters, the situation and condition of enterprises that function in the clusters, the neighboring enterprises. What are the activities by clusters, their strengths and weaknesses? I think that we have this gives us an interesting outlook into what's been happening over the years. And in the recent study, the association was the executor of the research. So they went in deep into the picture of the Polish cluster. So I'd like to share some thoughts with you. about this research. I only have one slide. I was thinking, what would Krzysztof ask about? So what we have here is a comparison between the two recent benchmarks. The last one ended in 2022, and it was about 21 and 22, so the times of pandemic. The study from 2020 was about pre-pandemic years of 2018 and 2019. So if you look at those indicators, so when we research clusters, we look at 5 most important areas and 19 sub-areas, but there are very many indicators that we look at. And we see successively that there is an increase in the effectiveness. All of the indicators are improving throughout clusters. I always praise clusters because I see your tremendous potential and I see what you do on a daily basis. So looking at the first lines, the first figure inside, this is 2020. This is the median in 2020. The third line, the third geometric figure is 2022. So there's a progress between the median, less scientifically, and average in all results. So the second, now the turquoise is the median for 2020 and the yellow is for 2020. Yes, the purple is the best clusters. So these are the leaders, group leader, the results in various areas, and in 2022, this is the last red result. These are the results achieved by the cluster leader. So everyone is improving, but those who are best are improving even faster. Exactly. There is continuous improvement, but the study does not test the entire population. We test the selected clusters. We limit it to 40. There were 41 specifically in this last one, and I'm sorry that I have to make a correction in what you said, Krzysztof, but when we talk about employment in clusters, you say more than 500,000. These investigated clusters, the 41, employ about 685,000 people, employees. This is the staff. I like to be corrected in that direction. I enjoy that. So next year we're going to start the next edition of this study, so these figures will go up even further. I know that clusters have a tendency of not only improving their effectiveness, but also they grow. So I wanted to note that the bigger the cluster, the better the results, the broader the scope of activity, and the more effective support for the members. This is very important. Now, you did mention that, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but the fact that financing was mainly targeting key clusters resulted from the fact that there was a certain distinction between division of support between national and regional level. I'm very happy after the last regional panel that the regions are developing to support clusters so strongly. We've divided in the group, in the cluster group generally, with policies. Regions support clusters that are new, initiatives that are transforming into mature clusters, but they also support cluster initiatives, so real clusters that operate at regional level. Since those are regional funds, they go to the regions, so the government level focuses on clusters that are trans-regional, that are higher than regional. So large clusters that are multi-regional and key clusters. This is the government support. At national level, it was subsidies in 2 measures, export and the development of new products and services. And it works well because we see the tremendous development in key clusters and in their development. Coming back to the weaker clusters, that because of this formal distinction that we cannot support, I'll say that maybe this is information for the regions, I hope positive or inspiring maybe. We noticed that those clusters that do not professionalize their activity, so they don't have a development strategy, they don't operationalize the strategy, they don't involve members in that activity, their results are very weak. Maybe this is an area for the regions to intervene. I heard about your activities. I'm really impressed by what you're planning to do. I hope all the regions will be inspiring one another with their activities. And then maybe the picture of those clusters will not be as diversified, so the key clusters will not be so much ahead, although I wish you all the best. But I hope that the level of development will be more even. Right now we have a split. One more thing from the study. There's tremendous potential in the clusters in terms of services, in terms of green transition and digital transformation. The clusters undertake a lot of activities and they're highly advanced. So on the one hand side, there may be clusters that do not have that competence. They may use competence available from other clusters, the training offered in your platforms, for instance. But I think key clusters could be sharing knowledge with lesser clusters and support what needs to happen. I see tremendous potential in sharing the knowledge between clusters. One more thing that results from the study that I'd like to share with you. As clusters, you have a bit of a problem because not everything is going fine. We're running out of, you have a shortage of clusters, and we're running out of time. Yeah, but I can talk a lot about clusters. A shortage of capital is a problem of clusters. Yeah, we can talk about such problems, yes. So we need more support. I was afraid you were going to criticize. No, no, no. More in summary, I'd like you to know that increasingly large clusters are increasingly more effective. So as the members gain in power, it's good for them. They have tremendous potential to develop services, and what they need is joint services, so the networking is effective within clusters. What I'd like to encourage for the future is networking between clusters, something that is already happening slowly between our Polish clusters. I'll give you an example. Automotive clusters signed an agreement, and they're going to jointly pursue certain activities. So 4 automotive clusters are going to create or form a super cluster. We're going to be talking about it because the future is with large, strong entities. So maybe clusters are going to be increasingly working with one another, not just for their own members, but for the members of other clusters, sharing services, sharing knowledge, doing things together. And forming associations, because I see that as you associate, you have increasing leverage into what's happening in the country and in the economy. I don't want to make it too long, but you also have tremendous knowledge about what's going to happen in the future and how to plan for the future and what the industries will, various industries will look like in the future, the competencies of the future. So please do more, and we will be supporting you. Sorry I took so much time. I can talk more. Thank you. That's why we met here, to talk a lot about clusters. There's also dinner later. But I promised you all that I'll give you the opportunity to join in the discussion. We are past our deadline, theoretical, but the way I'm playing this is you were late to this panel, so it is in your hands whether it is longer or not. If you have the need to ask questions, I'm encouraging you to do it. If you think you don't, then you will not. I see one in the room very briefly. First of all, I'd like to warn Krzysztof that I'm also from Podlaskie. I was born in Podlasie, in Drohiczyn, Siemiatycze, district of Siemiatycze. But coming back to what I wanted to say, first of all, very valuable remarks about clusters came from various agencies and institutions that provide supervision and are focused on cooperation with them. I'll say that regionally, I wanted to say this in the previous panel, but we're short of time and everybody wanted coffee. I wanted to say that I represent logistics transport cluster, which is a key national cluster, but I'm also chairman of the maritime economy team with SMEs ombudsman. Of course, he's from Biała Podlaska. But coming back to the subject, I wanted to say that I co-founded a cluster which today is called Maritime and Space, but I'm working on the cluster, in the cluster that I mentioned earlier. So I have considerable experience in collaborating with the Marshal's Office. And I want to say that this collaboration developed in an unusual way, extraordinary way. The department dedicated to us is very well experienced. There used to be Włodek Szordykowski. Now there is the excellent Stanisław and a colleague, Karolina, that was seen here. And we were gradually growing into this. We did not feel one another initially. We need to talk about this. Relations between people create increased effectiveness and going in the right direction. Thank you. Thank you. This is what we keep talking about all the time. The clusters are about relations, collaboration, and developing trust. This is our specialty. Would anyone else like to ask a question or make a comment? No. Okay. Just about the key clusters versus regional clusters. I heard, and I'm very happy it came from Silesian region, by Dr. Kowalska, who I felt clear regret that she would have preferred to also support key clusters at regional level. So you don't take away at the national level, because it's like this. We give birth to them, we feed them, breastfeed them, we bring them up, and then they're taken away from us. I'm president of the aviation cluster from the same region in that sense, and I say we also feel sorry about that. We do not want to be separated from our regions where we originated in. We want to support the regions as well. And I think we could start a now 1 hour and a half discussion about that right now, but there is something to think about in this area. So we don't have a situation that national key clusters disappear from the perception of the regions. Yes, I will just make a quick reference to this. The yes would be enough. Okay, I just wanted to say that from the point of view of what was discussed in terms of the policies, maybe you develop and bring up those clusters and then aspire to become key. We support them at national level. There's nothing to prevent you from supporting them regionally. This depends on your basic principles. But I'd like to encourage you to use key clusters to provide services for you and to provide support to you and provide their expertise to make money from their expertise and knowledge. Maybe such orders, utilizing the potential capabilities of the clusters, can be useful. We have 2 projects. One is called KOWLA, the other one is called GovTech. This is in collaboration with the local authorities. We had a workshop when we talked about the needs of the local authorities, not just regional, but also local. And I did see the report from these workshops about the requirement from the local authorities for what could be provided to them. And I see the tremendous area that could be utilized, the things that could be provided by the clusters, providing services to the local authorities. Yes, if you want financing, I think there's nothing that prevents that. The Elector Lubos did create that. There is a division, but you can use them. You don't have to finance them, but you can use them. Why not? Maybe there could be some self-criticism because we have the... Yeah, we can't hear this, unfortunately. You need to speak into the microphone because that won't be recorded. Yes, please speak into the microphone. Say it again. Good afternoon. As a creator of this table, I'd like to kindly inform everybody that there is a series of asterisks that support by the region can be provided to key clusters. The only thing that has to be done, you have to notify the relevant ministry. Okay, I'm taking away the microphone. This is good. So there is no counter indications for the clusters, national clusters to be. Now, Madam Doctor will say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But I wanted to say that we are not cutting off the umbilical cord between regions and key clusters. We are creating a network of regional specialist observatories, and in the areas of technology, we work together, and we have worked together with clusters for many years. On a daily basis, we've been still working with them. We're not cutting them off. It's just a matter of financing, but as I hear, there are prospects for, there are asterisks and things. Yeah, you create the perspectives. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a fascinating discussion. I'd like to extend it. I see that you want to. Anybody else wanted to take the floor? Yeah, Jacek Drożdżak. Oh, okay. Jacek Drożdżak, National Key Cluster, Green Chemistry. Can I have a question that will be both to former Madam Director and to Monica as well? We're about to have the new perspective, which will give us new opportunities. Okay? Things are beginning, and new funds are going to start coming from Brussels, but also from our beloved government. I can say on behalf of myself and my colleagues from other key clusters, when are we going to start being treated, us as national key clusters, normally? When will we stop being made accountable for the pennies? Because the money that we don't take as thieves, pardon the expression, but as institutions that want to pass them on. I'll give you an example from Brussels. I think everybody knows that. Money that we settle on the website of the European Commission, we settled within a week. And the monies, our local Polish national, we settled for 3 to 3 months. That's how long it takes. That's my question. Can we have any leverage as key clusters to try to say somewhere, I think, in the government circles, to treat us differently, to be treated with more tolerance in terms of utilizing EU funds? So I understand that this is not, Jacek, a question for today, but it's a thought, a reflection at a good time, because there will be a change of government. Let's not go into politics level, but maybe there will be some new thoughts. So maybe this is a good time to talk about these things and appeal. But I say, let's not burden anyone here with trying to respond to that question.
Sali, bo nie widzę.
Tyłu gdzieś Jarek Bulanda here. Jarek, so how many pages were we required to copy? How many thousands of pages, as you translated this into thousands of pages? Yes, as I remember, there was more than 3,500 pages. So this is like a work of 2 people for a month just to provide services to an audit, and also the European Commission. So if I may summarize, so what we have here, so those blank bonds, and this is this is a very sad element, and this is what it looks like. And the money we get, this is the public money. I will have to find somebody who would say something more optimistic, but I think your summary will be very optimistic. And even if we are in international projects, we need to sign with our blood the documents, which is which is like doing things for our cluster members. But tomorrow we are going to have another day, so this is very briefly. So I have a recipe. So create clusters, work together, and yes, this is very good. And so if we add to something said to all those optimistic things, so once you said almost 700,000 employees in 41 clusters, we also have a couple of dozens more. The other ones are not that strong, but we have like 800,000 of employees. So this is how many we identified. So as clusters, we are responsible for a large portion of employment in this country, and still there are some people who ask questions what clusters are. So this is the work we have to do, and this event is going to help with this, and our other activities are going to help with this, as this voice should be audible on all the levels. Also in decision makers, members of the parliament, lawmakers, as now we have the political change, so this is the right time. So if new people come, I don't want to start this political discussion. Some of us are happy that the government is changing, others are sad because of that, but the change is a fact, and it is probably the moment when we should start again our promoting our ideas, and once again try to convince other people coming here to the government. Thank you very much for, first of all, to my wonderful panelists who were not disturbing me much in my presentations, my interventions. Thank you to the great people, a lot of interesting information, and thank you to all of you for all day, and a big round of applause. And thank you for your patience, for your involvement, for being here until so late. But before I tell you what I learned, and before I tell you to go away, but there is always time for some kind of announcement. So I will. So tomorrow at 9, a couple of we are going to have a couple of dozens. A couple of dozens of you, some of you, are going to participate in the matchmaking that's going to take place tomorrow at 9. And let me remind you about that matchmaking, as quite many of you enlisted on the confirmation we've got from fewer number of people, and even fewer people are in actual meetings. So let me just remind you that tomorrow at 9 you have those one-to-one meetings, so those quick dates, and after that we are going to remove those tables, and we will have we are going to continue this event. And so please remember, if you clicked that, so you are going to be here tomorrow at 9. Thank you again, all of you, and see you to dinner with those of you who are going to be here for dinner. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Fundusze europejskie w latach 2014-2020 to m.in. sukcesy polskich przedsiębiorców, wsparcie dla jednostek samorządu terytorialnego oraz dynamiczny rozwój ośrodków innowacji poprzez wydarzenia, szkolenia, finansowanie, edukację oraz wspieranie współpracy przedsiębiorstw. Lata 2014-2022 to 13 tysięcy umów o dofinansowanie i 15,3 miliarda złotych przyznanego dofinansowania na terenie całej Polski. Nasi beneficjenci są bardzo pomysłowi. Wprowadzają na rynek np. innowacyjne dachowe wymienniki ciepła, dofinansowane z programu operacyjnego Polska Wschodnia. Skonstruowali innowacyjny szybowiec wyczynowy, dofinansowany z programu operacyjnego Inteligentny Rozwój. Wprowadzają też projekty doradcze, takie jak Sukcesja z sukcesem, dofinansowanie z programu operacyjnego Wiedza, Edukacja, Rozwój. Fundusze Europejskie 2021-2027 to nowa perspektywa finansowa. Jest ona kontynuacją programów z poprzedniej perspektywy i obejmuje Fundusze Europejskie dla Rozwoju Społecznego, Fundusze Europejskie dla Polski Wschodniej i Fundusze Europejskie dla Nowoczesnej Gospodarki. Fundusze Europejskie. Razem przed siebie!
Historia przemysłu to historia transformacji i napędzających ją wizjonerów. Oto śruba. Kiedyś musiał wykuć ją kowal, każdą z osobna. Setki i tysiące śrub. Nie było dwóch identycznych, więc w tamtym świecie każda maszyna była rękodziełem. Pięknym, ale mało efektywnym. Idea, że śruby można produkować maszynowo, narodziła się w głowie jednego człowieka. Standaryzacja części zamiennych rozpędziła rewolucję przemysłową. Bez standaryzacji nie byłoby przemysłu. Lampa naftowa, żarówka, nawet karabin maszynowy – to wszystko wynalazki pojedynczych geniuszy. W XIX wieku transformację przemysłową napędzali wizjonerzy. Nasi dziadkowie postrzegali przemysł z perspektywy linii montażowej. Praca rąk setek lub tysięcy ludzi, prosta optymalizacja i efekt skali tworzyły przemysłowe imperia. Komputeryzacja oraz automatyzacja zmieniły układ sił i sprawiły, że ludzie zaczęli pracować ramię w ramię z robotami, a wynalazczość przeniosła się do centrów R&D. Równocześnie dane stały się surowcem, takim jakim dotąd była ropa. Dziś niezwykle istotny jest elastyczny model produkcji, który pozwala szybko reagować na potrzeby klientów. Bez modernizacji parku maszynowego oraz infrastruktury ciężko jest utrzymać konkurencyjność na globalnym rynku. Zmienia się sposób myślenia o miejscu i roli pracowników, bo transformacja cyfrowa bardzo zależy od kompetencji oraz talentów ludzi. Wdrożenie rozwiązań przemysłu przyszłości wymaga szerokiego horyzontu i zdolności organizacyjnych. Przedsiębiorca XXI wieku musi wiedzieć, jak efektywnie i bez szkody dla środowiska wykorzystać zasoby, jak szkolić kadry i reagować w ciągle zmieniającym się otoczeniu biznesowym. Skorzystaj z wiedzy oraz doświadczenia ekspertów Platformy Przemysłu Przyszłości. Pomagamy w cyfrowej transformacji do przemysłu 4.0.
Planując ekspansję na nowych rynkach, potrzebujesz ekspertów, którzy pomogą Ci zminimalizować ryzyko. Potrzebujesz profesjonalistów, którzy od lat funkcjonują w lokalnej rzeczywistości i potrafią dotrzeć do właściwych osób. Skontaktuj się z nami. Polska Agencja Inwestycji i Handlu to stale rosnąca sieć biur na 6 kontynentach. Sprawdź, co możesz zyskać, bo sukces zaczyna się od informacji.
Cyfrowa platforma HR 4.0 to nowa usługa klastra SAM umożliwiająca przygotowanie i rozwój kompetencji kadr przyszłości, szczególnie w obszarze HR. Dostęp do bazy wiedzy. Wymianę dobrych praktyk ekspertów HR. Wsparcie pośrednictwa pracy i pozyskiwania talentów do organizacji. Współpracę biznes-edukacja. Skontaktuj się z nami w celu skorzystania z usługi. Film promocyjny dofinansowany ze środków Unii Europejskiej w ramach Europejskiego Funduszu Rozwoju Regionalnego.
MŚP Go Digital to nowa usługa klastra SAM dedykowana małym i średnim firmom produkcyjnym, której celem jest wsparcie w procesach transformacji cyfrowej i wdrażania rozwiązań przemysłu 4.0. Usługa podzielona została na 2 obszary. Część demonstracyjno-szkoleniową realizowaną przy użyciu mobilnego Centrum Demonstracyjnego Przemysłu 4.0 oraz wirtualnej fabryki cyfrowe MŚP oraz część doradczo-konsultingową, w ramach której ekspert przy współpracy z odbiorcą usługi stworzy plan transformacji cyfrowej przedsiębiorstwa. Skontaktuj się z nami w celu skorzystania z usługi. Film promocyjny dofinansowany ze środków Unii Europejskiej w ramach Europejskiego Funduszu Rozwoju Regionalnego.
Lubuskie to region pełen możliwości. Tutaj możesz odpoczywać, uczyć się i rozwijać swoją karierę. Tutaj znajdziesz atrakcje turystyczne, znakomite uczelnie i nowatorskie szpitale. Tutaj spotkasz się z ludźmi, którzy mają wizję i pasję.
Wyobraź sobie, że oglądasz film w otoczeniu największych gwiazd Hollywood, a godzinę później jesteś w samym środku obrazu Van Gogha. Już po chwili popijasz cydr w urokliwym sadzie, planując dalszą podróż. Wieczorem jesteś pod największą tężnią solną w Europie i smakujesz piernika z miasta, w którym żył ten, co wstrzymał słońce i ruszył ziemię. Potrafisz to sobie wyobrazić? Nie musisz. Wszystko to znajdziesz w Kujawsko-Pomorskiem.
ARP i Vehicles to nowa, a jednocześnie mogąca poszczycić się dużymi osiągnięciami marka w grupie kapitałowej ARP. Powołana do życia przez Agencję Rozwoju Przemysłu w 2020 roku kontynuuje projekt produkcji pierwszego polskiego zeroemisyjnego autobusu, wcześniej realizowany przez Rafaco. Inwestycja ARP wpisuje się w światowe trendy rozwoju elektromobilności i bezemisyjnego transportu.
ARP i Vehicles jest to projekt realizowany w ramach rządowej strategii odpowiedzialnego rozwoju. Jest to jeden z 2 przyjętych kierunków rozwoju elektromobilności w Polsce. My odpowiadamy za ten projekt związany z e-busem, czyli elektrycznymi autobusami, zeroemisyjnymi autobusami. To autobus, który jest przede wszystkim autobusem polskim. Od początku został on zaprojektowany przez wielu polskich inżynierów. Zaprojektowany z myślą o tym, żeby jak najwięcej podzespołów było właśnie produkcji polskiej. Dlatego ponad 60% komponentów właśnie jest produkcji i pochodzenia polskiego. Spółka nie jest spółką mającą tak wielką tradycję jak chociażby polski Autosan, ale jesteśmy spółką bardzo dynamicznie rozwijającą się, która z roku na rok zwiększa swoje przychody. Nie możemy narzekać na brak zamówień. Sukcesy na targach czy w Brukseli, czy podwójny sukces w Kielcach, czy Plovdiv, czy Saloniki, to wszystko spowodowało, że portfel zamówień mamy wypełniony maksymalnie.
We wrześniu 2020 roku Agencja Rozwoju Przemysłu sfinalizowała umowę zakupu od Rafaco spółki celowej Rafaco e-Bus. Tym samym przejęła kontrolę nad projektem konstrukcyjno-technologicznym polegającym na opracowaniu, homologacji i rozpoczęciu seryjnej produkcji innowacyjnego autobusu elektrycznego. Dzisiaj projekt ten jest rozwijany z powodzeniem przez spółkę ARP i Vehicles.
Produkowany przez nas autobus to jedno z najbardziej innowacyjnych osiągnięć polskiej inżynierii ostatnich lat. W jego konstrukcji wykorzystaliśmy pionierskie rozwiązanie polegające na umieszczeniu baterii nie na dachu, ale pod podłogą pojazdu. Dzięki temu istotnie obniżono środek ciężkości autobusu, co z kolei wpływa na stabilność toru jazdy, bezpieczeństwo i łatwość prowadzenia. Pomimo baterii pod podłogą, autobus jest całkowicie niskopodłogowy na całej długości oraz w pełni przystosowany do przewozu osób niepełnosprawnych na wózkach. Nasze autobusy są także wyposażone w innowacyjne silniki w nowoczesnej technologii PMSM, które gwarantują niezawodność i doskonałe osiągi, przyspieszenie, moc, sprawność oraz niezawodność autobusu.
Zielony transport to przyszłość komunikacji. Agencja Rozwoju Przemysłu aktywnie działa na rzecz rozwoju elektromobilności w Polsce. Wybiegamy myślą do przodu i już teraz dostrzegamy potencjał tego rynku, korzyści biznesowe, znaczenie dla ochrony środowiska i rozwoju innowacyjności polskiej gospodarki. Stąd nasze inwestycje w sektor elektromobilności, a ich wzorcowym przykładem jest powołana przez nas spółka ARP e-Vehicles.
Powstanie spółki ARP e-Vehicles doskonale wpisuje się w potrzeby polskiego transportu publicznego. W ostatnich latach coraz więcej samorządów przechodzi na niskoemisyjny transport publiczny, a od 2025 roku w miastach powyżej 100 tysięcy mieszkańców autobusy spalinowe zostaną zastąpione elektrycznymi. Trend niskoemisyjnej komunikacji publicznej przekłada się na wzrost zamówień realizowanych dla samorządów przez ARP e-Vehicles.
Agencja Rozwoju Przemysłu jest naszym 100% właścicielem, dzięki któremu mamy finansowanie na naszą produkcję. Naszymi klientami są głównie miasta, gminy, związki powiatowe, powiaty i spółki komunalne, które realizują transport na terenie miast i gmin. Wszyscy ci klienci wymieniają obecnie tabor spalinowy na nowoczesny, ekologiczny, elektryczny. Oprócz rynku polskiego jesteśmy zainteresowani rynkiem europejskim. W zeszłym roku pokazywaliśmy nasze auto na targach w Grecji, w Salonikach, gdzie spotkał się z bardzo dużym zainteresowaniem z uwagi na jego małe wymiary, które były bardzo dobre i bardzo dobrze się sprawdzały na greckich, wąskich ulicach.
Usprawnieniu produkcji sprzyja niedawna przeprowadzka firmy do Bydgoskiego Parku Przemysłowo-Technologicznego, jednego z największych parków tego typu w Polsce. Dzięki temu spółka zyskała przestrzeń do rozbudowy działu produkcji, a także znakomity przyczółek do dalszej ekspansji.
ARP e-Vehicles to nie jest zwykła inwestycja. Jesteśmy dumni, że wspieramy projekt będący w pełni efektem polskiej myśli technologicznej i wytworem polskiego przemysłu. ARP e-Vehicles udowadnia, że polski kapitał i polska innowacyjność mają szansę konkurować jakością nawet na rynkach zagranicznych. Pierwszy polski autobus elektryczny produkowany w nowym bydgoskim zakładzie to także ważny krok w kierunku zrównoważonego rozwoju. Jest przyjazny nie tylko dla środowiska, ale przede wszystkim odpowiada lokalnym potrzebom. W Agencji Rozwoju Przemysłu chcemy, żeby zielony transport był łatwo dostępnym nie tylko w wielkich miastach, ale także w Polsce gminnej i powiatowej.
Wałbrzyska Specjalna Strefa Ekonomiczna Investpark to aż 3 województwa, 174 gminy i 29 powiatów. Od początku funkcjonowania siedzibą spółki jest Wałbrzych, drugie największe miasto na Dolnym Śląsku. Dolny Śląsk to jeden z najszybciej rozwijających się regionów w całej Europie. Zróżnicowana kulturowo i bogata przyrodniczo część kraju, której dynamiczny wzrost zapewniają branże automotive, logistyka, IT i nowe technologie. Południe Polski to także systematyczne inwestycje w infrastrukturę drogową i kolejową. Wielkopolskie. Lokacja najstarszych polskich miast. Region bogaty w złoża węgla brunatnego i gazu ziemnego. Ponad 3,5 miliona mieszkańców i prężnie działająca sieć instytucji otoczenia biznesu wspierają branżę spożywczą, chemiczną i budowlaną. Wielkopolską strefę gospodarczą wybrali liderzy rynku, w tym m.in. Volkswagen, Rawak, Dino i Flex Films. Opolskie. To zróżnicowany przemysł, wyjątkowa architektura i zabytkowe budownictwo. To region otwarty na innowacje i odnawialne źródła energii. Województwo napędza branża maszynowa i motoryzacyjna. To serce światowych potentatów. Mondelez, Mitsui Hightech czy Umicore. Polska Strefa Inwestycji, w którą wpisuje się obszar zarządzany przez Wałbrzyską Specjalną Strefę Ekonomiczną, to pomoc publiczna, ulgi w podatku dochodowym i wsparcie dla inwestorów prywatnych. Intensywność pomocy publicznej na terenach zarządzanych przez Wałbrzyską Specjalną Strefę Ekonomiczną sięga od 20 do aż 60% w zależności od lokalizacji inwestycji. Investpark to jednak nie tylko przedsiębiorcy i miejsca pracy, ale także strategiczne przedsięwzięcia własne, w tym lokalne centra biznesu i hale przemysłowo-magazynowe w aż 6 atrakcyjnych lokalizacjach. Współpraca z nami to także kompleksowe doradztwo biznesowe, networking i wsparcie wymiany handlowej, nowoczesne centrum szkoleniowe, wspólna grupa zakupowa i inwestycje we wspólną przyszłość w ramach klastrów edukacyjnego, motoryzacyjnego i lotniczego. W Wałbrzyskiej Specjalnej Strefie Ekonomicznej bije serce najważniejszych światowych inwestycji. Investpark znajduje się na skrzyżowaniu strategicznych szlaków handlowych i komunikacyjnych. To najatrakcyjniejsza lokalizacja biznesowa wybierana zarówno przez polskich przedsiębiorców, jak i globalne marki. Strefa to optymalne położenie geopolityczne i lokalizacja atrakcyjna dla biznesu. To dogodne połączenia drogami ekspresowymi, rozbudowany system linii kolejowych i dostępność do międzynarodowych portów lotniczych. Wałbrzyska Specjalna Strefa Ekonomiczna. Od 25 lat wspólnie rozwijamy gospodarkę Polski i regionu.
Od ponad 30 lat edukujemy i wspieramy przedsięwzięcia ekologiczne na rzecz zielonej transformacji. Jesteśmy pełni zielonej energii i podajemy ją dalej. Naszym klientom dostarczamy nowoczesne rozwiązania finansowe oraz oferujemy doradztwo ekspertów. Zapewniamy narzędzia, by skutecznie mierzyć się z wyzwaniami klimatycznymi poprzez redukcję zużycia zasobów naturalnych czy wzrost zastosowania odnawialnych źródeł energii. Kredytowaliśmy dziesiątki tysięcy inwestycji proekologicznych o wartości powyżej 52 miliardów złotych. Projekty społeczne realizujemy poprzez programy Fundacji WOŚ oraz przy zaangażowaniu naszych pracowników w roli wolontariuszy. Dobra energia wraca, zielona także. Otrzymany w 2021 roku rating ESG plasuje nas w gronie 18% najlepiej ocenianych banków na świecie. Nasz zapał do zielonej transformacji nie maleje. Nieustannie szukamy nowych dróg rozwoju. Inwestujemy w zieloną przyszłość.